Hi everybody, this is my first video after purchasing a Stealth Ghost HD camera. I'm just about to go out for a ride and see how it works, and I'll also be able to talk about my VFR1200 which is a DCT model. In other words, it's the dual clutch. Doesn't have a clutch lever or a gear lever. I've done my pre-ride checks using the acronym POWER, which stands for petrol. I've got half a tank. Oil, yeah, oil's at the correct level. Water, yes, this is a water cooled V4. I've got enough water. E for electrics. Yeah, my indicators work, brake lights work, and headlamps is on. It's on all the time. And R for rubber. Check the tyres. 36 on the front and 42 on the rear. Right, so let's start her up and go for a ride. I use a mixture of drive, manual and sports, but I'll explain a bit more about that as we're going. So, quick into drive, twist the throttle and away we go. Lovely sunny day. Hopefully there isn't too much traffic about. As you can see, I haven't changed gear myself using the buttons, the on and off button, the up and down buttons. Watch out for this young lady. I tend to leave it in drive, especially around town, but once I get into the twisty bits, there aren't a lot of twisty bits around Newmarket, but when I do get in the twisty bits, I tend to use manual, using the up and down buttons to change gear. Notorious A14 towards Bury St Edmunds.
looks as though I'm doing 77, but I know that my speedo reached 10% over, so in fact I'm bang on 70 now. How do I know this? Well, I've not got it fitted today, but when I'm using my sat nav, that always records my correct speed. How do I know that? Well, I had a ST1300 Pan-European ex-police bike which had a calibrated speedometer, and it always read the same as my sat nav speed. Seeing as I'm videoing this, let's stick to the speed limits as posted. More or less anyway. Can't actually see any roadworks. Maybe they left the 50 signs up. Forgot about them. But it's not worth taking the risk on the A14. Unmarked police cars and unmarked bikes could suddenly appear. I really like the VFR1200, despite what the comic or Motorcycle News was saying a couple of weeks ago, that it's a bad bike. That's absolute rubbish. It's a really good bike. For some reason, biker journalists seem to run it down, but if you go on sites like the VFR forum, VFR discussion groups, an American site, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of VFR 1200 owners that really rate the bike. Yes, it's had its problems. Mainly with the rear shock, and well, the only problems that I've had is the front brake discs warping, because my disc bobbins were seized, and the only other problem I had was when the main dealer forgot to tighten up the rear brake pad pin, so that my pads fell out, did some damage to the carrier, and also forgot to put the O-rings in the rocker box cover, so I was burning oil, and the bike was smoking terribly, but all of that's been fixed, compensated by the dealer. I've also had O-rings rear shock fitted, and had the forks revalved, upgraded by MCT suspension specialists. Thank you, Darren. And it's transformed the way the bike handles. People used to complain about the fueling. Yeah, you could ride around it, but I've actually fitted a Dynajet 5.0 VC5 and an auto tune, and I've had it decatted, and it's made a tremendous difference. The bike is as smooth as anything, very fast. Top end wise, not as fast as the Blackbird I had, but it's pretty close to it now. Of course, they're restricted. All bikes are restricted to 156, I think it is. I've had this ranked to 140 plus, and was only doing about 8,500 revs. A lot more to come. Right, now then. Watch that ambulance bus. Is he going to come out? Yes. Don't come out so far. That's well done. Now I've changed to manual, changed it down into 4 so that if I see an opportunity in a moment to overtake this car, I will. Without doubt, the brakes on this bike are the best brakes I've ever had. Stay where you are, pal. On any bike over the last 50 years. That's CBR 600s, Fireblades, 2 Fireblades, R1, X-Ups. The brakes are unbelievable on this. And of course that ABS. Although I have to admit I've never felt the ABS working. Never had to brake that hard, fortunately. I just hope that the Ghost camera is actually working. I've switched it on. I spent hours looking at the book last night and then went onto their website to download the manual. What can I say? All the videos on it looked really good, but actually setting it up, it's very complicated. The little icons and everything are so small, and my 67-year-old eyes aren't what they used to be for close-up work. Give it a little wobble so that he sees me. There we go. Sign coming up, so easing off. I always stick to the 30 and 40 limits through villages. Don't want to upset the residents. Move out to the middle so that in case he steps out a little bit further. Right, back in. I'm now doing 30 mile an hour in fourth, and she's as smooth as anything. No backlash from the drivetrain. Lovely. I have to admit I get a little bit annoyed, particularly with biker journalists who have the bike for a day, maybe 2 days, and then make such disparaging remarks about the bike. This bike has now done 38,239 miles, of which over 32,000 is what I've done. It's a 2010 model, and I bought it in. Now that, see the acceleration and everything, and that was in drive. I haven't wasn't using my buttons. You know, this bike has a lot of torque. She'll pull quite strongly, even in sixth. I always nod at bikers coming the other way. If they nod back, great. If they don't, well, their choice. Last week, whilst I was out on a blood run, yes, I'm a blood biker with Serve for Suffolk and Cambridgeshire branch, and I had 2 boxes of blood on the back of my bike. And a biker coming the other way actually saluted. It wasn't a wave or a nod, it was an actual salute, which I thought was really nice. Cyclist up ahead, so I won't overtake now. This car in front will pull out in a moment, and we're approaching the 30 limit anyway. pan-European. Bike had pulled up over the other side of the road up ahead. I wonder if he's got a problem. No, here he goes. Oh, the owner actually nodded. Good grief. At the moment it's showing 2 bars for my fuel tank. It seems to go down quite rapidly once it gets to 2 bars, and will probably start flashing in another 15 miles or so. But what I'm going to do is actually call in at Tesco's and fill up. It's a 19 litre tank, and when they first came out, people were saying, "Oh, it's too small for a touring bike, won't do the miles." I find that it usually starts flashing at about 140, 150 miles, and there are still 3 litres or more left. And what I've found is that when I'm out with either the IAM riders or a group of us that go abroad every year, we usually stop every 120 miles or so anyway. So I've never had well, no, I tell a lie. I did have a problem last year in Spain when we couldn't actually find a petrol station open, and I did run out of fuel. I can't remember how many miles I'd actually done at that point, but that's the first and only time I've ever had a problem with the fuel